I was wrong in doing what I did.
No, no! No! Are you listening?
One of the worst feelings in the world that we can have is imposter syndrome. And if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, you probably experienced it and you don't even know it. You go to a party with friends, you're told. And you get there and there are two friends and a bunch of strangers. And these strangers may be well dressed, outspoken, outgoing, laughing, having a good time, and maybe you're an introvert. Maybe you just don't feel like you belong. That's imposter syndrome in its most basic form. Another common one is when you get a new job. You budge, maybe you pad your resume a little bit because you know you can learn whatever the new job has. Or you get a job and all the skills you have, they're valuable, but they use a different coding language, a strange one. You get in there, you're in there with a lot of people being paid the same amount of money, you don't know as much as they do, and you end up feeling like you don't belong, like you're lost. Another type of imposter syndrome, and I don't even know if they have a term for it yet, but it is something I've been researching just in my spare time. Going on social media is a nightmare now. But for some reason, 1/40th of this country, probably less than that, they go on Twitter, and I've mentioned this before, and I'm not slamming anybody. Everyone's allowed to have their own beliefs. But they start telling you how men and women should be, what a woman is, what a man is. Any kind of masculinity is toxic masculinity. And if you spend too much time on there, you're gaslit. You start to question, am I supposed to be like this? Am I normal? And no one has the right to make you feel that way. And my advice is to step away. But there are some people who do start to feel like they're not normal. And the difference between them and Lorne is that Lorne does it to himself. Lorne puts himself in situations and brings it on himself. What am I talking about? Remember I told you about a guy by the name of John? I would just leave his last name out. The guy that stuck a fork in the light socket. The one that called people, "You cheeseburger without the cheese." I hear those same speech patterns in Lorne Armstrong. "I'm sorry you love my dogs." And the way he talks, from what we understand, from what I was told, he was an absolute geek. Awkward dude all of his life. He gets on To Catch a Predator, and he thinks he's become popular. This is a guy who's never dealt with it, never experienced it. And I've shared my experiences with you, so I know what it's like. He's never had it. And unfortunately, he had it later on in life. He felt like he had it later on in life. So when he got any kind of attention, I mean, we even got to the point with sweatshirt with the letter D representing Dan. That entire call. Anybody listening to that call can tell this guy's never, ever had any real friends. He's never been in any situation where there's any adversity. He's never been in competition with anybody because the only object of his affection has been his mom. He has had plenty of objects of obsession. Paula, Nikki, Sherry, I told you about, all the other women, Winnie, Casey, and it goes on. But his mom, that's been the object of his affection. Hopefully there's been no romantic challenges there between Lorne and Mama Gwen, Gorilla Gwen. Hopefully there's been no romantic interaction there. But we know he's never faced adversity. One of my favorite moments in Lorneography, and if I ever meet Ember in real life, I'll ask her for permission to give her a hug. And I'll hug her and she'll go, "What was that for?" And I'll mention a specific time when Winnie was like, "Look, lick it. And Emma was on the phone, and Lorne, for some reason, thought that Emma would be really bothered, and he goes, Emma, it's all right, Emma." And without skipping a beat, she's like, "I don't care," or why are you asking, why are you saying that to me? Shutting him down. But because he has assumed at this point that he's Mr. Popular, that he's a legend, he just rolls with it, like he didn't even hear her. Whatever bad happens to him, everybody else should care. Lorne is an imposter and he knows it. Which is why when he gets a woman like Ramona, he knows he has no business with her. He knows he has nothing to offer. And this goes into some of the other videos I made. He has nothing to offer. So she's talking about a doctor and a therapist and all these people with real professions who don't have a pedo history. And he's feeling, he doesn't know how to describe it because it's Lorne. He's feeling like he doesn't belong. And he really doesn't. Some of you may be experiencing this right now. You go into work. You're the veteran who's kept it up and running. You're the one who's kept things up to date. You train the new people. And then one day, and it will hit you all at once. It's not something gradual. You'll look around and it's almost like an out-of-body experience. You see youth. The technology has caught up to you or it's passing you by. And you may be learning the new technology from the younger people because that's what they were trained on. It's humbling when you get older and you go to a bar. I don't go to bars unless someone drags me out because I just don't like them. You go to a bar and there are a bunch of young people over here and a bunch of people that are almost your age over here and people older than you. And you don't know where you fit in. And you're looking around at these groups and you're like, where do I go? You know, who am I supposed to hang around with here? I feel young, but I'm actually that age. But I don't want to talk to them because they're buddy-duddies. I want to be a part of the party crowd. But you can't most of the time because you're not in that age group. And it would just be weird. I had a manager, female, didn't know she went to the college bars. That's where people drag me because their friends own them. And we go in, and these guys get off on getting the VIP treatment. I'm not going to lie, it was nice being in there. I'm not going to lie, I enjoy seeing beautiful women. Young women, old women, doesn't matter. Beautiful, I'm all in. I look up, and there she is. In the middle of a bunch of college guys. Drinking and flipping her hair. One of her straps is down on her dress. And I'm looking at the playbook going, wow, she is working it. I wanted to go over and high-five her, but I decided not to. I don't want to kill any game. Men, we can't just roll up in the middle of young women like that. It's just not acceptable in society. She obviously did not care about whether or not she fit in with that group because she knew how to work it and how to get herself into that group. And maybe that group getting into her. I've always felt like the karaoke crowd is where Lorne felt that he belonged. Everybody else was doing the same thing as he was. These were people who just like to get up there and belt out songs. Other people would listen. I've been in karaoke bars. There have been some really good singers, and I've genuinely applauded, and then you give the polite applause. But Lorne felt like he belonged. Everybody else was doing it, and they let him get on stage in his head. Wow, I can get on stage here. I can be a part of the crowd. I think that's why karaoke appealed to him. I mean, I do believe he thinks that some executive was going to walk by, hear his voice, and go, wow, that dude. Somebody pops up, yeah, man, that's the biggest name on NBC right there. Oh, yeah? What did he do? He's a pedo. Nice. We're signing him immediately to the Weinstein Company. I mentioned this before. Lorne, I think, tried to fit in with Roy and anyone else who would talk to him. He's the kind of guy who went vegan, if I remember correctly. The Ramona calls have become more difficult to listen to over time because I realize my daughter's getting older and she could possibly find an asshole like that, and he makes me mad. But I don't know if he went vegan because of Ramona. And even if he didn't, he went vegan because he heard someone talk positively about it. You know, vegan's good for the body. That's all Lorne needs. And you know these people. They discover CrossFit. Their whole life becomes CrossFit. And they tell you about CrossFit and what CrossFit does and how great it is. And I enjoyed it when I was younger. I did enjoy it. It was a challenge. But I wasn't the guy running around telling everybody, this is how you save the planet. This is the best thing for you. I discovered something called XFit, and I started teaching it. It was similar, but it was more boxing, kickboxing oriented. And I enjoyed that, but I didn't go around and tell everybody how great it was. Lorne probably heard one of those people, immediately went vegan. Now the point I'm making is if I said, Lorne, why did you go vegan? Well, it's good for the body. Oh yeah, Lorne? What are the long-term health effects? What are the potential dangers of going vegan? Because there are some. What kind of deficiencies can you develop from going vegan? How do you spot whether or not your body is healthy after you've gone vegan? That's what you're going to hear from him. Or you're going to hear, Mom's calling, I got to go. People who get into cults. I'll give you an example. Cult wearing red robes. You start wearing red robes because that's what they do. And they love bombed you and you got into the cult. You didn't question. You just thought, wow, this is cool. I like this. This looks great. And then you find out later it's because they sacrifice virgins and they don't want blood getting on their white robes. It's extreme and ridiculous, but you see what I'm saying. You take things at face value. It's the opposite. You don't feel like you're an imposter until it's too late. That's how people escape. They start to feel like, I don't belong here. You hear about Scientology and about people climbing over fences and security guards running them off the road, trying to capture them and bring them back to the base. How they're still a religion, I have no idea. And again, those are stories you hear, because trust me, I wrote an article where I mentioned that Joe Rogan should interview David Miscavige, and we got a letter from Scientology. It's nuts. But those people, like Aaron Smith-Levin, I urge you to check his channel out, Surviving Scientology. Those people realized, what am I doing here? I do not belong here, and now I can't get out. Why did I bring that up? Because it can also happen on the other side, where you were a geek like me. Suddenly, junior year, then senior year, you blew up. And you had the whole JV soccer team hovering around you. It was like people were in orbit. All of you have experienced this somewhere at some point. It happens with magicians all the time, and I'm not going to lie, I'm one of the people orbiting them. But you realize, look at all these people. Now I have to live up to their expectations. I can't hide away anymore. I can't escape. I'm kind of screwed. I enjoy this, but I hate it at the same time. I think Lorne is the same way, and we've mentioned this. When you're talking to somebody who's bipolar, try to remember that when they call and they're angry, that's the emotion they need to dump. That's what they feel they need to dump, and that's how they expect you to respond. That's how they want you to respond. If you don't respond, they get angry. They want your acceptance and your attention on their terms. And if you notice, lately, Lorne has finally figured out after 50 years that when a situation is bothering you, bothers him, you try to get away. He knows he needs to get away. He doesn't know why, because he's a moron, but he knows he needs to get away because he wants that silence. He wants the attention when he calls. And maybe now he feels like he's not getting it from Casey unless he waits a few days. Because if they talk every day, the attention isn't what he requires. Maybe he thinks she'll miss him. Because we know Lorne answers the phone, hi. But I love, Blue Boy. Hearing Lorne just collapse as the calls go on. And it's not hi anymore. It's hi. And then hi. See, with Jamie, sorry to get off topic, I gotta say this. I truly, Heelborn, I love you, man. I love the fact that you can actually picture Lorne circling the drain as he's going down, about to be flushed. It's so wonderful. And he does all this to himself. But Lorne can't escape. He wants the attention, but he doesn't want it. He wants the kind of attention he feels he needs at that moment. When things become overwhelming, when you feel like you're about to snap, when you feel like you're about to break, you're going to self-medicate. So you can blame your behavior on what you're self-medicating with. And that's a different topic. But I'm just bringing this up because Lorne, he knows he's an imposter, as I said before. All of the attention, he knows no woman is going to be throwing themselves at him like these catfish women are. That's why he panics so much. That's why he assumes they're cheating on him. It's partially self-confidence and his paranoia and never having a real relationship, but he knows he doesn't measure up, as we've talked about before. And he feels like an imposter at all times. The one place I don't think this man felt like an imposter was in prison. I think he felt like he belonged. He kept a journal. He wrote all those letters. When he got out, I don't belong in prison. They know I'm not a danger. No, you just didn't like your freedom being taken away. You know, prison is where you thrive. It's where you'll be safe. Believe it or not, Lorne. It's where you'll be safe. The older you get, I mean, even the disgusting, sick, perv sexual assaulters won't touch you. I'm sure they didn't when you were in there, and if they did, you'd never tell us about it, even though you love Lamondre a whole lot. School, I told you about. Your work. Church. You're a new person. I don't mean the feeling that you don't know anyone, but you don't know what they believe, as I said about the cults. People who convert to Judaism, they have to take classes and a whole bunch of craziness. But if you switch from like non-denominational to Southern Baptist, you got to watch what you say, and you have to come up with the correct terminology, and you can't quote from a certain Bible, and your interpretations need to match their doctrine. You'll just start to feel like you don't belong, like you didn't earn that spot. You don't belong in their congregation. Because imposter syndrome at its core is that you don't have the right to be there. You didn't earn it. You're fake. You don't have the qualifications. You can't do it. Some people become public speakers, and they've told me stories. I speak in public a lot, but some people, they get up there, I guess I'm hand for center of attention. Some people get up there and they'll be in the middle of their lecture and they're looking around, and they describe it as they are overly self-aware. It's an out-of-body experience, like they've been exposed. And it's nerve-wracking. Start sweating, maybe shaking, looking around at all those eager young faces ready to learn. If you're a professor, maybe one student is exceptionally bright, and you start to feel like, wow, that student is smarter than I am. Because that's also real when you're training somebody at work, and they pick it up really fast, and they discover something that you didn't know how to handle. They fixed it. Week 2, they fixed it. You start to feel like, wow, I've been here this long and I can't even do that. It happens to the best of us. It happens to a lot of us. It's why you see a lot of people stream and then go away. You tell me, go away. You see a lot of people stream, they get popular, and then they self-sabotage. And Lorne, I don't know if he really self-sabotages, but I would suspect some of what happened, he was well aware of what he was doing, things he wanted to get out of, things that people got him into, put him in a class he intentionally does poorly because he doesn't want to do it. He knows the consequences, but he did it anyway. Prime example of imposter syndrome, MMA fighters. The first time they get in there for their amateur fight, they look around and things kind of get tunnel vision, kind of fisheye, zooms in and what am I doing in here? But then they get some wins under their belt. I can tell you 3 people that were 7-0, 6-0, and 9-0 when they were in MMA professionally, not amateur, professionally. They got to the point where the competition was definitely going to step up. They were going to have to travel to go fight this competition to try to get into the UFC. All 3 of them, something came up. Something happened. Oh, well, this happened. One of them, their mom had cancer, and I'm not knocking her for this. But her last request was, son, do not let this stop you from fighting. Don't let this keep you from doing what you love. That's all I ask. Keep doing what you love. Mom died. They quit. And they said, well, it was too heavy on me. It was too heavy on me. But they would still go train. They just didn't want to get in there, and this was their way out. And maybe it really did affect them, because death affects us all, especially Mom, But the way he was after that, he sure didn't look like he was affected. And I even saw him personally. He wasn't depressed when we were one-on-one discussing and I was helping him deal with the grief. He was sad, but it wasn't like enough where you would expect to stop him from doing what he loved. He stayed in fighting shape, but I to this day believe that was his way out. Despite his mom, her last request to him being that you don't quit fighting. When you're at work, fake it till you make it. If you're in a situation where you feel like you don't belong, there is a chance that you don't belong. You have to pay attention to it. You have to evaluate it, but I'm not going to go into all of that. Don't self-sabotage because you don't think you have what it takes. Lorne, his imposter syndrome is he has no business being around any women at all. He's never been cool. He's never been popular. So I think he puts himself in these situations and he creates his own hell. And I'm okay with that because these women are fake. If they were real, I'd be furious. That's my video for today. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.
Hang on, I can't even catch my breath. Hang on.